Welcome to the Unlocked Podcast, a podcast where we decode human performance one gene at a time. I'm Tony, and this series isn't just about science, it's about unlocking the hidden power you carry in your biology so you can train smarter, live longer, and activate what most people think is fixed. We're going to talk about genes, healing, mental clarity, recovery, and even where science and soul start to meet. But we're starting with the foundation because most people don't know what DNA really is or how much control they actually have. Peptides are everywhere right now. I mean, everywhere. You've got fitness circles talking about them, recovery clinics built around them, anti aging brands marketing them, and influencers throwing around names like BPC 157, TB 500, GLP 1, growth hormone secretagogues, collagen peptides, copper peptides. Like these things came out of some biotech lab hidden under a mountain. And before we get pulled into the hype, I want to slow this whole thing down because here's the truth. Most people using these words can't actually tell you what a peptide is. So let me say this up front. Peptides are not magic. They're not just recovery shots. They are not automatically safe because the body already makes some of them. And they are absolutely not all the same. That's the part that gets lost. Stay with me. Okay, so let's define what a peptide is because most people throwing this word around can't. A peptide is a short chain of amino acids, and amino acids are the building blocks your body uses to make basically everything. Muscle enzymes, hormones, neurotransmitters, all of it starts there. Here's the way I like to think about it. If a full protein is a long sequence, a peptide is more like a short text message. It's quick, it's specific, and it's telling your body to do something. And that's really what these things are. They're signals, biological instructions. One peptide might tell your body to release a hormone. Another might be in charge of regulating hunger or repairing tissue after you train, or managing inflammation. Some of them are talking to your brain, some are talking to your gut, some are involved in blood sugar. That's what makes them so interesting. They sit in this powerful middle zone between nutrition, hormones, recovery, metabolism, and how your cells actually talk to one another. But that's exactly why we have to be careful with them. Because the second you start changing signals in the body, you're not just pressing one button, you're stepping into a whole network. Everything is connected to everything. And your body is always listening. Now, here's something that surprises people. Peptides didn't start with TikTok, not a famous dance. It didn't start with biohackers. They didn't start with some guy on Instagram talking about faster healing. When you guys get a chance, take a look at an axolotl, something I'm researching right now, but that's what another note. One of the most important peptide stories in medical history is insulin. Insulin is a peptide hormone. It helps move glucose from your blood into your cells, especially after you eat. And before insulin existed as a treatment, type 1 diabetes was basically a death sentence. The body couldn't make enough of it. Blood sugar would spiral and people would waste away even while they were eating. Then in January 1922, a 14-year-old kid named Leonard Thompson becomes one of the first people ever treated with insulin. And that one moment, helped turn diabetes from something you died from into something you could actually manage. So when we talk about peptides, we have to respect that history. Peptides are not fringe by default. Some of the most important medicines ever created are peptide based or peptide related. Insulin, oxytocin, the GLP-1 drugs everybody's talking about right now, certain hormone therapies, fertility medications, drugs used in metabolism, and endocrine medicine. All of it. So the conversation has to get more mature than peptides are good or peptides are bad. The real questions are which peptide, for what purpose, at what dose, through what route, from what source, with what human evidence, under what supervision, and for which person. That's the unlocked frame. Not because you're hype, not because you're afraid, but because it's a precise approach. All right, let's get into how these things actually work because once you understand the mechanism, the whole peptide conversation starts making total sense. Your body communicates through signals. Hormones are signals, neurotransmitters are signals. Your immune system uses signals called cytokines and peptides. Peptides can act as signals too. Here's how it works. A peptide binds into a receptor on a cell. Think of a receptor like a biological lock, and the peptide is the key, or at least part of it. When the key fits, the cell receives a message, and that message changes what the cell does next. It might change enzyme activity, it might dial inflammation up or down, it might trigger a hormone release, change your appetite, increase blood flow to a certain area, turn on repair pathways, or even influence gene expression. And gene expression is just a fancy way of saying which of your genes get turned up or which one gets turned down. That right there is the connection to performance genetics. Because here's what most people don't understand: your genes are not frozen instructions sitting there waiting. They respond to signals. Training is a signal, sleep is a signal, stress, food, light, inflammation, hormones, all signals. And peptides can be one of those signals as well. So when somebody asks me, can peptides actually affect your gene expression? The honest answer is yeah. Some of them can influence cellular pathways that eventually change gene activity. But, and this is huge, that doesn't mean every peptide somebody is buying off a sketchy website is proven safe, effective, or appropriate for them. The mechanism existing doesn't make the product legit. That distinction is everything. Let me make this concrete with two examples on opposite ends of the spectrum. First, GLP-1. You've heard of it because of Ozempic, Wegovy, Manjaro, all of those drugs in the news. GLP-1 stands for glucagon like peptide 1. And yes, it's a peptide. It's a signal your gut releases after you eat, excuse me, that helps your body regulate blood sugar, insulin, appetite, and how fast food moves through you. GLP-1 receptor agonists are medications that mimic or activate the exact pathway. That's why they can influence appetite, blood sugar, gastric emptying, and body weight in people who medically qualify. That is a peptide based pathway with real clinical use, real human trials, real evidence. Now, compare that to something like BPC 157. BPC 157 is all over the internet for injury recovery and healing. And look, some of the animal research and early studies are genuinely interesting, but interesting is not the same as proven. We don't have the large scale human trials. We don't have the long term safety data. We don't have approved medical use. And that gap right there is where people get themselves in trouble. They hear promising mechanism and treat it like proven protocol. Those are not the same thing. A mechanism is a possibility. A clinical outcome is what actually happened in human bodies. And safety isn't just whether some guy on the internet said it felt better. Safety means purity, dose accuracy, route of administration, immune reactions, long term effects, drug interactions, cancer risk signals, hormone disruption, blood sugar effects, cardiovascular effects, and whether the product is actually what the label says it is. That last part is where the gray market gets dangerous. A peptide from a regulated prescription pathway is not the same thing as a vial off a website labeled for research use only. Same word, completely different worlds, completely different risk. And here's a layer most people don't think about. If you compete in sport, even at a high amateur level, there's an entire other system listening to your body. Some peptides and growth hormone related substances are flat out prohibited under WADA. So my wellness clinic prescribed it does not automatically mean allowed in competition. Your body isn't the only one tracking what you put in it. Testing agencies are tracking it too. So let's bring this back to earth because most people aren't asking about peptides because they love biochemistry. They're asking because they're tired, they're hurt, they're not recovering. They want fat loss, better skin, better sleep, more energy, more drive. They want their body to feel like it used to. And I get it. When your body feels stuck, anything that sounds like a direct biological upgrade becomes really, really attractive. But here's why I want to push back just a little bit. The first question shouldn't be what peptide should I take? The first question should be what signal is my body actually missing? Because here's the truth. Sometimes your body doesn't need a stronger intervention. Sometimes it just needs the basics done with more precision. If recovery is poor, look at sleep first. If inflammation is high, look at training, load, food quality, stress, alcohol, gut health, injuries you might be ignoring. If your body composition is stuck, it usually means protein, steps, strength training, calories, insulin sensitivity, and consistency long before it needs anything fancy. If energy is low, You're looking at thyroid, iron, vitamin D, B12, sleep apnea, blood sugar, total stress load. Seems like a lot, but you can get a panel for that and get those things all checked out. And if libido or mood or motivation is off, that's testosterone, estrogen, prolactin, cortisol rhythm. Your sleep debt, maybe you're getting 3 hours of sleep, you need six, relationship stress, nervous system regulation. None of that is sexy per se, but all that is actually fixable. Peptides should not be the shortcut around those assessments. They should only enter the conversation after the foundation is actually understood. So here's what I want to leave you with, not a peptide dosing protocol. I'm not your doctor, and I'm not going to pretend to be. This is a peptide decision protocol. 7 steps to ask before you even consider going down this road. So, step one, you want to define the goal clearly. And I mean clearly. I want to optimize doesn't count. That's too vague. And vague goals are how you end up chasing random compounds. A clear goal sounds like I want better tendon recovery. I want medically supervised weight loss. I want to understand why I'm not bouncing back from training. Or I want to improve my metabolic markers. The sharper your goal, the easier every decision after it gets. Step two, separate approved medicine from experimental wellness because the word peptide alone tells you nothing about the risk. Insulin is not in the same category as some recovery peptide off the internet. GLP-1 prescribed by a real clinician is not the same as buying random vials online. Collagen peptides in a protein supplement are not the same as injectable research peptides. Again, same word, totally different worlds. Step number three, check the evidence level. Ask the real questions. Is it approved for use? Are there human trials? Long term safety data? Were the outcomes actually meaningful? Or are we excited about mice in a petri dish? And this one is super important. Is the person promoting it also the person selling it? That's not cynical, that's basic discernment. Step number four, don't bypass the labs. Look, if you're seriously considering any medical peptide therapy, your body should be assessed first. I'm huge on assessments. Depending on your goal, a real clinician might want to look at glucose, insulin, A1C, lipids, liver, and kidney markers, thyroid, inflammation, sex hormones, your sleep quality, blood pressure, your body composition, and your current medications. I know it's a list, but you can't optimize what you refuse to measure, period. Step number five, respect route and source. Oral, topical, nasal, and injectables are not the same. The second you put a needle into the equation, you've bypassed every barrier your body uses to filter things. So, purity, sterility, dose accuracy, and your immune reactions, you don't want to bypass those things, okay? And that's not you being afraid, that's just listening to your biology. Step number six, before anyone is dreaming about advanced peptide stacks, the basics should be boringly strong. So you want to build the foundation first. Protein at every meal. Resistant trainings 3 to 5 days a week, depending on what you can recover from. Sleep consistency. Morning light, steps, hydration, electrolytes when you need them, mobility work, stress regulation, a real deload when your body is cooked. That's not basic because it's weak. That's basic because it's the base. You don't get to skip the base. I can't tell you how many times I tell my client, they're like, yeah, let's go 5 times a week, but they're not eating, they're not getting the electrolytes, they're not hydrating. And then, the next following week, they're like, oh my goodness, I feel like I got hit by a Mack truck. And I'm like, hey, we have to always address the foundation. So before we start any program, before anyone does anything, you always want to address that foundation first. Step number seven, you have to know when to stop. If you ever start any kind of therapy and you notice unusual swelling, shortness of breath, chest pain, severe headaches, your vision is starting to change, maybe you're breaking out some allergic reactions, the infection site or injection site, I'm sorry, not infection, if there's an infection at the injection site, severe GI symptoms, your mood starts to kind of feel funny or you don't feel the same, you start fainting in weird places like while you're at Carvels or something, or just weird neurological stuff. That is not like I'm going to push through it. That's not the time for that moment. That is a medical evaluation moment. So you want to stop, get checked out, and don't be a hero with your body. Deep breath here. Okay. So here's a deeper point I want you to walk away with. Peptides are exciting because they remind us of something powerful. Your body is programmable, not like a machine you dominate, more like a living system you're in constant communication with. You train, and your muscles get the signal. You sleep, and repair turns on. You eat protein, and those amino acids become tissue, enzymes, neurotransmitter, signals. You manage stress, and your nervous system shifts. You expose yourself to morning light, and your circadian genes literally retime themselves. You repeat the right behaviors, and biology adapts to meet you there. Peptides are part of that language, but they are not the whole language, and they should never replace the conversation you're already having with your body every single day. The future of performance isn't just stronger substances, it's better interpretation, knowing which signal the body actually needs, which one is too loud, which system is under recovered, and what intervention actually fits the person in front of you. That's where genetics, biomarkers, training data, recovery data, and clinical judgment all start coming together. And that's where this show is going. So, in conclusion, we're not here to worship shortcuts. We're here to understand the code. Because when you understand the code, you stop chasing everything. You start choosing with intelligence. Peptides may end up being a massive part of the future of medicine, performance, and recovery. Some of them already are, but the unlocked approach is never hype first. It's biology first, evidence first, safety first, then strategy. Remember, your biology listens. Live like it.